Hello and welcome to the Loose Butthole Reviews. Today we are reviewing Batman the Animated Series, Season 1, Episodes 1 through 40.
Yeah.
You were supposed to, I was expecting more than that, but okay.
Oh.
You're doing that whole Batman thing.
oh. I, I
Thought
didn't.
you
I
were
didn't.
warming up.
I wasn't. I wasn't. I wasn't planning on doing the Bane impression on here.
Good deal.
uh,
Okay,
it caught
so,
me off guard.
you're
That
gonna
was
have
just
to
me
lead
fucking
this,
around.
man.
Okay. All right. So going back, we'll admit, not always the strongest. Not always the strongest.
The first
But
40 episodes, no. I have to say this kind of a slog.
yeah, especially there was a bit in there that was really bad. There's like a it was right in the middle of our of our part one
Like
and part two. We to explain, we did do a review of the first 20
20
episodes.
episodes.
Yeah, and then that's gone.
Yeah, that's
You should know
completely
by now.
lost.
We've explained it. Yeah, we've explained it. Watch.
Actually, this is going out before that episode because it's Saturday as we're recording this, so I might as well. With my new computer, I can edit this and have it posted in no time
Oh,
flat.
well, Smokey's old computer go boom boom and make content go bye bye.
For momentarily.
Yes,
But yes, we had to
momentarily bye bye.
extend to 40 episodes, and it was like episode 20 through I want to say like 32, like literally 12 solid episodes, which is like kind of rough
See,
to watch.
see, they got the old pandemic, and now we have to keep them in quarantine for an unknown amount of time. That's what happened. People thought it was done, but it ain't. It ain't fucking done.
No, I
Just
will
pretend it
say,
is.
the Joker when he's on the screen, he's a very strong presence.
He's even in the bits that he's just in there for a second, he steals the whole show,
Yeah, he really makes it the Joker show.
which makes us want a Joker show.
Oh man, yeah, they kind of upset that all we have is a Harley Quinn show.
But let's start with all the good positive, probably the strongest episodes, right? Do
Um,
you have the list of them? Do you have the
I
list in front of you
I
of what we want?
have the airing right here. I'll actually go. Let's go in order. The Cat in
Okay,
the Claw, Part 1 and Part 2.
rough, rough. Not even supposed to be the first one. This is the
Yeah, it
first
was a
airing,
very
and
rough.
they only aired the first episodes, and because this isn't even how they aired it too. That they tagged on the part two to make it make sense in this, but that isn't how it aired. It aired the first episode of Batman animated series that aired. It was coming out around where what was it? Batman. What was the one with the penguin? Yeah,
Batman Returns.
Batman Returns. Batman Returns was out, and they needed a Catwoman one, and that was the one they had finished. So the Warner Brothers or whatever the fuck, obviously not the creators, because the creators had no control of how this got released.
Yeah,
um,
that's evidently obvious, and
mm,
I would have to watch it in production order to see if it's better, but
production
I don't see
order
how they could
isn't
make this
perfect.
better.
Production error one isn't exactly perfect, but I feel like they spaced out the those a lot of those filler episodes a lot better in the production, because they weren't piled on like they were in this one.
Yeah, I really didn't understand the airing of this whatsoever.
There's like a good 10 episodes where there's just like no villains, It's just like gangsters or
Yeah, it's Mafia, and those should have been like the very first ones they aired to get
yeah.
those out of the way.
There was one that was like a mafia one that was like almost, it seemed like an introduction to Batman 2 a little bit. That should have been the first one. I
Yeah, for
remember.
sure.
And I'll mention it now because I probably won't remember it by name. But yeah, the rough two-parter. Because I like Catwoman. I do. I definitely like her more than you do in the series too, more consistently. But
I
this
just
one's
I don't like how they're doing. I like Catwoman as a character. I just don't like what they're doing with her in this series. That she's a very I get that sometimes she rescued Batman, but every she's been the damsel in distress twice now
yeah.
that we watched it, and that's just not doing Catwoman any justice.
Mhm. Yeah, they probably need to balance it out a little bit more so they're more saving each other in a little bit more equal terms.
And then we have On Leather Wings, which I actually find is a decent one.
It's weird because that's the first production one, and that's what I don't exactly agree with being the first one either.
Yeah, I don't agree with that one being the first like episode to watch. To be honest, the It's Never Too Late episode 7 of release
Mhm.
that should have been the one, but
Oh yeah,
that's the
actually,
Mafia one.
mhm.
And
And
but after
Leather
that we
Wings was
have Heart of
yeah, Leather
Ice.
Wings for yeah, Heart of Ice. We'll get into Heart of Ice, but back on the Leather Wings. I remember actually in the production order, and it's weird because it's the one that they intended to be the first, but actually they made. I remember for some reason the first episode in the collection that I had that was supposedly the production collection was the Joker's Christmas, which doesn't make sense because they
Makes
didn't
that
they didn't hire him. They didn't hire Mark Hamill until after Heart of Ice.
Oh man.
Because that was well. Now we could go into Heart of Ice. The bastard dude who fucks over Victor Freeze in that is Mark Hamill, and that's actually his first role in the show. And they're supposed to have Tim Curry, but Tim Curry was busy, and they also didn't weren't exactly satisfied and thought it was a bit too scary, the Joker that they had.
I kind of wish
Um,
we got a little bit of Tim Curry Joker. That would have been nice.
yeah, like it'd be awesome if there was at least like a lost episode out there that they could release or something. But fortunately, it actually never got that far. It was like a couple lines got said. But Mark Hamill just kind of like playfully tried out for it too because they just had him in there, happened to have him in there, and they were thinking about getting a replacement, and they was like, "Oh God, you're perfect."
Yeah, he does voice the Joker really well.
I do recommend listening to Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man on Batman, specifically the ones that go over
Why'd
Batman
you?
animated series, specifically the ones that go over Batman animated series because he interviews like almost all the voice actors in it, including Mark Hamill, including Arlene Sorkin, including and the creator Paul Dini. Which I've noticed when something is written, when it says written, and often sometimes even directed by Paul Dini, that's the best episodes you're gonna get. And they're gonna be the most consistent with the world because I did a little digging too, and there's actually comics that tie into this world, and and apparently the comics are a bit messed up on the continuity, except for the ones that are written by Paul Dini.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul Dini is the brains of the show.
Well,
He's the he's all the good stuff that comes out of this. Heart of Ice, especially, is his baby,
okay,
and
good
his
segue.
vision of yeah, and his vision of Mister Freeze. There's this is the first type. This is the first time, like with Nora, the whole Nora story. This all comes from this episode. This
I
is
thought I remembered this episode a lot differently. I don't know why.
it's a pretty standard one, but just it's really just Mr. Freeze's character that like his dialogue all the way through it.
It's a
Even him
good
just saying ice
introduction to Mr.
puns.
Freeze if you've never even seen Mr. Freeze too.
Mhm.
A lot better than
And
what we got in the movies.
yeah, which was actually still trying to copy what was done here. They had the Nora story and they tried to do the tragic Mr. Freeze, except you
They
got
yeah, they get
silly Arnold Schwarzenegger to do it, and that didn't work.
Yeah, I was about to say they messed up with the casting, and that was that.
But with this, they got someone and he just perfectly sold that emotionless cold, and they put that robot effect over it, just spice on the cake. When you hear him, you just I don't know, I get chills
Yeah,
whenever Mr. Freeze like
I
talks,
just know that
especially his monologue.
they revisit this later in a movie or something, and it's just done way better.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
know that
understand that.
they, and that's my major problem with this. I don't have the nostalgia connection that you do. I did watch
Mm,
some of these episodes on when they reruns on TV and stuff when they were in syndication,
mm,
but it just even rewatching it, it's reminding me of why I didn't get into it. It's just there's better Batman out there now, and it just this is good if
mm,
you've never seen Batman and you want to get into Batman. This is good introductory, or if you're
I'd
nostalgic for it, I can definitely recommend it. But
I'd argue that um, there is some better Batman. I don't think there's as much better Batman. I'd say maybe a couple movies and the games do them the most justice compared to this. But when I look at a lot of the films, like especially the ones after Batman Returns, like
I'm
with
not talking
Batman and
about it.
Robin,
I'm not talking about the live action stuff.
even Batman Begins and the Dark Knight Rises. You
The
know,
Batman Begins is you got to give Batman Begins is a decent because it's introducing so much.
it
The
introduces so much and it's an okay movie, but honestly, man, out of that whole trilogy, it's the most boring one
Yeah, it's the one that no one really wants to talk about, but it's
because it is
definitely.
very boring. Because I don't know, Ra's al Ghul is kind of hard to do to make him interesting, especially in live action. There's a lot.
Oh, they were
I
never
feel
gonna
like
nail Ra's al Ghul. That's the problem. That's the only thing that's my only gripe with Batman Begins is that's the one character that they should have
they
kept.
should have focused on Scarecrow.
Yes, they should have focused on
Yeah.
Scarecrow.
Hmm.
And of
So
course, that's
I'd say what Batman Begins and this series has in common is their failure to get Scarecrow right. Honestly, both of them compared can be compared to the comics because the comics can't get Scarecrow right. They
yeah,
rarely
they
do.
don't. Scarecrow could be such a good character.
It
He's
really
never done
sucks if you look
justice.
into the yeah if you look into the history of Scarecrow. It really sucks because there's actually like a whole like almost 30-year gap of like when he just disappeared too, and they still didn't do it justice after, even though they edged him up a little bit, you know, in the 80s,
For some reason they want to keep the aspect of he's still a weak, psychiatrist that's more using
which
chemistry and stuff, which is
you
fine.
can that because Arkham, I think Arkham Asylum still. I mean, they don't exactly go into the weak part of him, but I kind of like what this show almost does, and it kind of does a little bit unintentionally because it's just kind of like redesigning him, trying to give him a better design. Is almost it almost simulates an escalation of like his insanity. You know, like maybe start
Yeah,
him off a
that
little weaker, and they almost do, and especially in season three, which we haven't gotten to,
no,
they
no, we
it's
we
they
haven't finished
finally
season 1.
nail him. They finally nail him, and it's only for one episode
Man.
for a for a couple for maybe a minute in one episode.
That I you should have kept that should have kept that here. That's regretful. That's
Mm,
upsetting.
it is, but it was just like we could have gotten more if there was a season four.
Now we
That's
did
there was ramping up a bunch.
we skipped over something. We got to talk about Clayface. They did Clayface
Oh
major
yeah,
justice in this one. I will say that the Clayface two-parter introducing Clayface was pretty much as good as you were gonna get with Clayface.
and it was a great mix of the three clay faces that we get in the comics that were out at this point, because it's actually mainly what we get is a mix of Matt Hagen, which is the third Clayface, and that's the name they use, and that's what he kind of become ends up becoming. Um, and then there's the first Clayface. I can't remember his name, where he was more kind of like he'd have like a flexible face, and he was more like a chameleon in Marvel comics. You know, just like he's a perfect impressionist too, so he could just like fool people into thinking he's different people. And they actually start out with that, with like him being Bruce and just kind of like using that stuff on his face.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And then they have the scene in the episodes where they like pouring it on him.
yeah, and they used the failed actor background of Matt Hagen,
Yeah.
which they really did well in this too. And they kind of had a little implied gay relationship going too, which was kind of cool. Not
Oh
something you
yeah,
see too often, especially at this time. They had to keep it vague though.
especially for like the early '90s, that was extremely bold for how close the two males were.
Mm-hmm. It was like an abusive relationship too.
Yeah, a very abusive relationship that
Mm-hmm.
one of the people definitely needed to get out of.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, and it was like you could still understand him not getting out of it too, because it was like obviously Matt Hagen's going through a mental breakdown as in a physical one.
We
uh,
we also got a Clock King episode.
yes, and I remember I thought this was going to be a weak one because I always kind of had a kind of like an ironic love of this one, but this one's actually really fucking good.
Didn't he like steal Riddler's gimmick?
No, he didn't steal Riddler's gimmick. He pretty much he was all about getting things perfectly on time. Like it'd be like when the
But didn't he
train would
leave
get
a
there. And
riddle? Didn't he leave a riddle
mm,
for her? I could have swore he left a
no,
riddle.
that was another dude.
Okay, that was another dude that we'll get into later.
Yeah,
But yeah, they did the Clock King really well. The
Wormwood. Remember?
Yeah, Wormwood was a better Riddler than the actual Riddler.
Mm.
That's
And he
who I
had
mix.
traps. He was kind of
Yeah,
like the trap master of the series. Which trap master is a very uh like vague. I mean, a very niche, uh, low class DC villain that shows up in the Harley Quinn show.
yeah. And we have to get into a character that me and you are divided on. Two Face.
I really like Two Face.
I don't think they did him justice in this one. I think we should have had more of him as Harvey Dent than what we got. They made him Two Face in episode 17 of airing. It should have been more like episode 30 maybe. They should have had more Harvey Dent because they did it with Barbara Gordon. Barbara Gordon's been, appearing in the show every so often, and she hasn't become Batgirl yet, but she's been in the show. Like I've
And she just recently got an episode, even not the best episode, but an episode that was actually focused on her, not as
Yeah.
Batgirl.
So it's I like how they're doing that, and I just wish they did Two Face like that as well. Because he deserves
Yeah,
to be done like that. He didn't deserve to be turned so quickly.
or at the very least, I just a couple more scenes of him being a little bit more unhinged, and then kind of being like, "Oh, sorry,"
Yeah.
would have been a little bit better to that. Just a little hint. I definitely agree with that. I think they did the episode decent. I understand why they couldn't exactly do it the way that it was kind of originally done. They kind of had to have like a bunch of series of events, get them to have the burnt face when originally it was thrown on him in court. Like a dude just threw acid at him, but that's an
Yeah.
acid attack, and that's a bit much.
Even though that would have been definitely the best way to go in this.
Which honestly, yeah, I'm surprised that they couldn't exactly do. They probably could have figured out a way to get by the censors, but that's why you'll see like a lot of weird things like that, especially with how ineffective guns are, or like why sometimes people just don't have guns is because like it was really hard to get that by.
Yeah, I understand the show had a lot of downside, and that's ultimately why it aged so poorly is because it had a lot against it, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, having a lot against a show can make a show age very poorly. But let's keep on going.
Yeah, yeah.
We're skipping over a few. I've skipped over a few episodes. A few weak episodes that I want to just list off real quickly. Internal Youth, the
Hmm.
Alfred dedicated episode. That one's kind of extremely weak. I've got Batman in my
The
basement.
poison ivy in it's great. but she's
Y-
not in it a lot.
yeah, yeah. Poison Ivy's in it, but I don't know. Just they don't do Alfred justice in the series, so any Alfred focus episodes are going to be extremely weak.
Mm.
But another week one was I've got Batman in my basement. Child focused
Mm.
episode.
That's my least favorite still so far.
Uh, and another one. I have to say, Night of the Ninja was actually a very weak episode as well.
Yeah, that I remember that one just being boring. It's just like him fighting a ninja, basically. And
They
it's
kind of
unfortunate.
introduced. They did have a little connection. He was trained by the same person uh, as Batman, so there
Mm.
was a little connection. I just didn't see it necessary. They should have made that character an actual significant character this to the series, and they didn't do that. That was literally
It
just a filler
very
episode.
they missed they missed the chance to get Deathstroke in there, and they've always been they've wanted to bring Deathstroke into it so many times, and this is before Teen Titans. But for the same reason why Teen Titans calls Deathstroke Slade, just only Slade of his name, is the same reason why they couldn't have Deathstroke because you
Man,
can't say death. You
that's
can't say death or kill.
that is
That's why they say everything around it. Kick the
yeah, yeah.
bucket,
They can say destroy, they can say
no
maim,
longer
but they
no
can't say
longer with us, passed on.
but a
Which is
character that
sucks
I
when
actually surprised they did justice, and I'm not sure why they did, was the Mad Hatter. He got a good couple good episodes in this.
yeah, and what's unfortunate is that's our last good Mad Apper episode. I can't remember any of them sticking out other than the first one. It's all just
Well,
gonna be like,
yeah,
oh, that's
that
mind control.
the Dream episode was also a good Mad Hatter one. I felt when he was trapped in the dream, and it ended. I actually ended up enjoying that episode more than
Oh,
I thought I would.
it was a little bit of a slog in the beginning, but that was mainly for me because I hate that trope so
Yeah, that
much.
trope is a little tried, but for the times, it was still kind of relatively new, so
Mhm.
I can let it slide. The
I've just seen
Underdwellers.
it in Underdweller. That was a good
Yeah,
one.
let's get into the Underdweller. That was a little is a Peter Pan reference if you didn't catch on,
Yeah, yeah,
which
definitely.
I
In
liked.
a real abstract way, and that was really cool too. It wasn't exactly like hanging on the coattails of like trying to fit into that. Just a couple of little like themes
And
going on,
then
just with like the design of things.
we just get like yeah, six completely weak episodes. The Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne,
That
Tiger,
one,
Dreams in Darkness, Beware the Grey Ghost, and Catch Griever all were significantly weak episodes compared to what some episodes are.
definitely, I would definitely agree with that. I'd say that I enjoyed the Hugo Strange one more than you did, but I mean, again, because Joker
They,
comes at the end and takes over the show.
yeah, that's I'm gonna say if
But they didn't.
A Hugo Strange episode shouldn't be hijacked by the Joker. That's
And
a negative.
also, what I didn't like was the fact that even though I love Vinny's screen time with Joker, Two Face and Penguin is basically just his henchman in that,
Oh yes.
which I like them better on more equal when they're more equally represented. Which will be a future episode we're going to talk about too, probably a little
And
bit.
unfortunately, Beware the Grey Ghost is the Adam West episode, and they did not do Adam West.
Hey, look,
The
it's Adam West. He's teaming up with Batman. Isn't
Yeah,
that
that's
cool?
basically what it is. And it's
Batman
really
guilt trips
weird.
an
Yeah,
aging actor
yeah.
into being actively on the hunt for this crazy dude who's obviously like obsessed with him in his show, and Batman has to guilt trip him because he's like, "Oh, well, you played a hero."
Yeah, so you gotta be a hero. Like, what kind of. That's like me going to comp Tom Cruise and trying to get him to do a heist with me because he does Mission Impossible.
Mhm. I mean, if he wants to do it, he'll do it.
I mean, he can't actually second guess himself if the thought
Yeah.
comes to his head. So
You might have a good chance.
yeah. But after those 6 episodes, we get an extremely strong episode in Almost Got 'Em, where it's literally
Yes.
the all of the villains have gotten together and they're playing poker and they're just like telling random stories of how they almost got Batman.
Yeah, that's great. That's finally, and this is one thing, and going just mentioning back to because the first Penguin episode we got was Batman in my basement, which really sucks because I really
Oh
like this
yeah,
Penguin,
that's
and this is probably the first good Penguin episode, and it's not even his episode.
no, but he
Um,
does get good moments in it.
but don't worry because we haven't gotten to the best Penguin episode. There's a really good one that really gets into his character that I really like.
Nice, nice. We're actually wrapping it up. Moon of the Wolf was not a good episode. I did not like that episode whatsoever.
Yeah, it was more them like because they bring back Milo from I forget what he was in. He was
And
in Tiger
aren't
Tiger,
they
I think,
literally
right?
just setting him up for Justice League later on?
They're not setting him up for Justice League because they don't know Justice League's gonna happen.
That's
They
oh, so
that's
he's
just a random ass pull because I'm pretty sure we don't see him. It's just like it happened to kind of like work narratively that he'd
okay.
show up in Cadmus later.
All right, all right.
I
And then
it's still a real niche one for them to pick.
one that I wish they kind of did differently, but I kind of like was Terror in the Sky,
Yeah,
where
I,
Man Bat comes back.
mm,
Because I
but
actually like Man Bat, but they did it weird to where it wasn't actually Man Bat. It was a bunch of people turning into Man Bats.
oh, it was actually just the his wife and
I
the
thought it was
daughter
two
of the
people. I thought two
which
people
they
turned into Man Bat
no
in
no
the.
no the other dude the older dude said that he never tried it on himself and he actually didn't mean for it to happen to his daughter. Picked up the she helped him clean up a vial that fell and it
Oh
was
well.
she cut herself on the with the serum in it and he didn't realize it until he was talking to Batman.
Like I said, that's like I said, one episode that I wish they did more justice. And of course, the last good episode that we got of this season was Christmas with the Joker.
Ah, yes, Christmas with the Joker. That's there's so many great Joker moments. We missed the. We'll go back. We'll go back. There's a good Joker one we missed that we actually did watch.
Oh, the
With
last laugh.
yeah, did we talk about? We didn't fully talk
No,
about. We
no.
didn't talk about
The last laugh was
Captain
I
Clown.
skipped over a huge batch of them that I
Mm.
and it was just in that batch.
Oh, I got you. Well, Last Laugh is really good. That's a really fucking good one. Um, that's him, fucking Captain Clown. You can't beat
Yeah,
Captain Clown.
I just assumed that we already established like the Joker being on screen that those are the best you're gonna get.
We haven't gotten a bad Joker episode.
No, and I don't think we're gonna be able to get a bad Joker episode.
And honestly, even as terrible as his redesign is going to be in season three, still my favorite episodes.
Gotcha. And of course, we ended on a very weak two-parter, the Heart of Steel.
Setting up Barbara because I think
Yeah,
in a
set
little
up
while
Barbara, start up Barbara, but
and she's doing Batgirl shit. She's doing pre-Batgirl
yeah,
shit. I understand this is
I
they
just
could have
hate that
done
that's
this
the
better.
only out of 2 episodes, the only interesting thing is a character's being set up. I wish they did more. You know.
I'm actually really curious if the writer, if or if one of the writers on this was one of the people that headed the Zeta Project. Do you know what the Zeta Project is?
No, I do not.
And that's not surprising because it it only like made a couple episodes. Bruce Timm animated. It's actually technically part of the Batman Beyond universe. Um,
Okay.
but it's like this chick and this like AI dude trying to like run from this corporation basically the whole time, trying to get him back. He's like a powerful AI.
Nice. All right.
And but the robot designs are very similar, and I wonder if, like, there's a dude with a robot boner that's just like, we need this episode.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
That's
Yeah,
what it felt like. It felt like it was like something else, and then they tied Batman to it.
that's probably why I didn't. Batman versus robots isn't very interesting, you know?
I thought the first part of it was really cool, like the briefcase doing shit. That was
Yeah,
sweet.
that was interesting, but then it became generic robots, and
Yeah.
I would
Though, and
prefer it. I
also
would
didn't
prefer
hate the fact
Batman versus
that the
Office Supplies would have been
hmm,
great.
what I did like what they did with the robots though was that they weren't only just like for a while they were just kind of like droning around, but then they started spider crawling everywhere and attacking.
Yeah,
That was pretty sweet. See Gordon like grudge crawling.
but that's very few moments within what
Mm.
44 minutes that those two episodes take up. So
Yeah, it would have probably been better if they like somehow they cut it into just one episode. It would have been fun.
yeah, it would have been a great one episode. They definitely didn't need that to be a two-parter, even though they
Because yeah,
are
it was
setting
like
up Barbara. It definitely
you
shouldn't
can
have been.
definitely tell like all the very dialogue heavy and not action points when it's just like they're obviously kind of filling it out too.
But we've gone on way long enough. We've gone on much
Oh
longer
yeah,
than we were supposed to.
I could go longer.
Yes, but we'll have to wait until the next part of season 1, which will be 41 to 65.
Hmm.
But yes, and those will be what I hear will be the good episodes finally.
Hmm.
All right, so like I said, I can only recommend this if you haven't watched any Batman. I don't see how you haven't at this time. You got to be like 8 or 9 and you want to
Hmm.
start some Batman. Yeah, go ahead. This would be a great series to watch if you
And
got
hey,
access to HBO Max.
if you're a huge fan of the games, it's not going to be as gritty. It's not going to be exactly like exactly what you get from the games like
I
that. There's a lot
don't
of things that
don't
the
I
games do
don't
better.
know. I can't
But
say.
shh, hey, if you want to see where those voices, where a lot of
Okay,
the
yeah,
inspiration from
okay.
that game came from,
If you want to see the
then you're gonna
original
watch
where the
Batman.
original voice actors got their start, that is a good
Mm,
point. That's all you had to say.
yes.
All right. So with that, I think we can do the sign off. Or do you
Hmm.
have any more that you want to add before we do?
I'll add whatever I need to add when the time comes.
All right. So yes, thank you so much for listening this long. Please like or comment dislike on the video and share it around. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and go check out some more of our content. This will be. We haven't posted in like 2 weeks, but we still have some Let's Plays. We have the Relaxed Talk, and we have more Loose Butthole reviews you can go check out. Do you have a sign
Yeah,
off that you want to do, Spooge?
I will. First, I'll say, even just, I don't think my opinion's going to change because we haven't finished the season yet. But I have a prediction that my rating is going to be a 4.5 for this first season.
Right now, and I do think it will change. Right now, mine would be a 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
But it could change. It could change to a
My,
4. But I
I'm
don't
going to make
think
my
I
predictions.
don't think it could go above a 4.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
Gotcha.
We'll have to see.
What I'll say my predictions are, I'm going to say that this is probably and honestly, I'm giving it that point five because of nostalgia. I'd probably say yeah, probably like a 4-ish. It's a low 4.5 for the season. I think season two, 5 out of 5. Then season three, 4.5 again.
All right. All right.
Because there's things I really do like that they changed, and there's a lot of things that I really don't like that they changed. But it's still a tried and true series.
And I'm gonna hold off on getting my ratings because I don't have any
These are
like
my predictions.
yeah I'm not gonna predict anything for me right now.
Mhm. Yeah, this is from because I'm a little bit more knowledgeable.
Yeah. And yeah, with that, this will be a bye bye.
Bye bye.